Hey everyone, welcome to Bestie Book Review. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie, Jessica.
So welcome to another one of our Bestie Book Teas where we go over everything that we've read in the last week and we spill the tea on the books we read. So make sure you grab your favorite beverage. I have a giant cup of tea because it's still kind of dark out here this Saturday morning. And your favorite coaster. Mandy, look which one I grabbed.
Ooh.
Your favorite coaster so that your husband doesn't get mad about rings on the furniture. And let's discuss the books that Mandy and I read this week.
That's funny. Rings are my thing.
Are they? The kids
always after the kids about it.
My husband, as you know, is a neat freak. And the kids grew up when they were little, they would call him Danny Tanner from Full House because he's such a neat freak. So no, he's the neat freak, not me. I mean, I'm okay about it, but he's okay. So this week I read 9, technically 10 books. One was a duet. We'll talk about that. I read 9 books. Mandy, you read 5?
I read 6 books, but I'll talk. One was a duet and one I'll talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk
together.
About it. Okay, so before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And as always, remember to check the triggers in the books that we are talking about if you have triggers. Your triggers are not our triggers and we don't know what they're going to be. So just double check the triggers in all the books that we talk about. Okay, so let me just start off with the couple of books that I have here. So I read Game Day Baby by Seabrook and Frankie Love. This was a free book that I got on Christmas Day through Kindle. So this is about Tatum and Aria. Tatum is an NFL football player.
Wait, Tatum is the guy?
Yeah.
Tatum wow, I've never heard of a male Tatum. I've only seen
really,
it with girls.
Really? Tatum Channing? Or Channing, isn't Channing Tatum? Never mind. Oh my gosh. Whatever.
Wow, what is in your tea this morning?
No, he's too blonde for me anyway. That's probably why I never pay attention. Any poodle. Okay, so one day a girl shows up on Tatum's doorstep and she has this little tiny baby. He had a one-night stand with her roughly a year before. So the baby is like a couple months old. And she's like, here you go. It's yours. And she is, she's not a retired. She's kind of like Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. Like she had a career when she was younger in the film industry and now she doesn't. And she's into drugs and whatever. He goes to find her the next day because she was just going to go for a little while. She comes back. She's going to go get a couple things and she comes back and come back and get the baby. Well, she never came back. So the next day he hunts her down. He looks her up and hunts her down. He finds a ballet studio. When he gets there, he's asking for Aria, but Aria is the woman who's running the ballet studio. Aria is the identical twin of the girl that he'd had a one-night stand with, and she'd been using the girl's name to take out credit cards and pay baby bills at the hospital and the whole nine, and had made a real big mess for her sister, and then she took off to do more drugs. So this book is really about them trying to clean that up, trying to find her, and taking care of that baby together. So
did you rate this? It sounds good.
I gave it 4 stars. And only because it kind of cleaned up a little too fast for me, I think, in the end. But for being a free book, I liked it. I really enjoyed it. There were a couple things where I went, okay, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. So yeah, you put it on your list.
It's definitely a different, baby trope plot than what I've seen lately.
And it's cute because she's a tiny baby and he brings in the aunt, but he brings in the actual Aria to help take care of the baby while he's at games and stuff. This is the one that I told you where he had an injury. So he's not an active player. So you don't see a lot of like actual games going on, but it's still really good.
All right.
So then, so I got to do my next one, don't I?
Yes.
Then I read, I know I was getting a little ahead of myself. Then I read Owned by a Sinner by Michelle Hurd. So this is the second one in, I can't remember what the series is called off the top of my head. But this is the second one in her series. It's a Mafia series and each one's a different kind of Mafia. So in this one, in the very first chapter, it might even be a prologue, we find out that Kiara the first chapter is Kiara's parents talking. Kiara's dad is an assassin for the Irish Mafia, and he wants to keep that a secret. He's had an affair, or he's had a relationship with a woman. She's pregnant with Kiara. It's Kiara's mom, and he wants to keep her a secret. He'll never marry her, but he wants to keep the baby a secret. He doesn't want anybody to find out that he's had a baby, because technically she'll be like a mafia princess type thing. So fast forward to adulthood. The dad has since had a heart attack, and Kiara is helping cover his bills and helping take care of him as a live-in nurse. She goes and gets a job at this Burns Corporation. So Burns, I think it was Burns. Yep, Byrne Corporation. That is actually ran by the Byrne family, who is the head of the Irish Mafia. So dad's not thrilled about it, but he can't really say much about it. So she gets a job there. And when she's there, there's two brothers that run the company. The older one is out. His name is, Liam. Liam is his name. His name is
the problem
Liam.
when you read so much.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, I even have it written down. I couldn't find it. But Liam is out of town. So she hasn't met Liam yet. And she gets herself into a situation that is somewhat abusive, a little crazy. She doesn't see a way out. She can't get out. And then here comes Liam, and he can tell something just isn't quite right, even though she's a new employee, and things kind of go from there. So she's just in this situation that I can't explain it because it'll give away the whole book, but like there is, the whole time I was reading it, I was like, how is she going to get out of this? How is she going to get out of this? So it was my first, it was a 5-star read. And I actually read it on Christmas or on New Year's Eve. So it was my last 5-star read of 2022. So I loved this book a lot. So you need to put this on your list too. So
Okay.
you know. But it's, and it just, yeah, like I said, it's Irish Mafia. Yummy. So what was your first book?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about a duet called The Coincidence of Callie and Kayden, and then the second book is The Redemption of Callie and Kayden. So again, it's a duet. I wrote a note to make sure to talk about checking triggers for this book. So even though Jessica already said that, this book, you really want to check for that. It's dual point of view. And this is about, there are some extra characters that are worth noting. Those are Seth and Luke, and I believe that there are more books in this series that follow those characters later. So right away in the prologue, Callie sees Kayden's dad abusing him. They just graduated from high school and they're going to college, and she stumbles upon this and she steps in, even though she's not described with the word emo, but I think that like, if you have teenagers, you've heard that word. And that was kind of how I pictured her. When she's 12, she does a dramatic change, cuts her hair really short herself, so it looks bad, wears baggy clothes. And this dramatic change, and she's very mopey, and she never tells anybody why. You can probably think, if I'm telling you about triggers, why, yeah, but it's very obvious, I think, if you have done much reading, what obviously happened to her, but it slowly comes out as the book progresses. So she's been like very much in the shadows of all through high school. People kind of made fun of her, called her a freak and stuff like that. But she sees his dad is like beating him, and in the book he thinks he's gonna die from his dad's hand, and she steps in and stops it. And so then we fast forward to college, and she has met Seth, who is like your very typical gay best friend. And he pushes her to do things. She's the first guy she ever trusts. Are you okay?
I kicked the tripod. Oh.
And so they go to college at the same place, but they go to summer college, like the summer semester. And then, so they form this friendship over summer. And then Kayden and his best friend, Luke, show up. And Luke doesn't recognize, or excuse me, Kayden doesn't recognize her because her hair is grown out. She's no longer wearing the baggy clothes. She's still very shy and trying to blend in, but he's like, don't we know her? And Luke is like, oh yeah, that's Callie. Well, then Kayden wants to talk to her because he's never talked to her since the night she saved his life, basically. So he is just very determined to get to know Callie, and Callie is very like, oh, you're a guy, I don't know that I can trust you type thing. So this is them both dealing with a lot of trauma in their life and their journey to healing and helping each other. There's a lot of other stuff that happens, and at one point I kind of just wanted to be done with the drama. I'm like, can we just move forward? Because Kayden goes back and forth a lot with like, she deserves better, but then like the very next page he's like all over her, not in that like a sexual sense, but you know what I mean, like
right, like all about her.
Yes, all about her. There we go.
All about her.
Yeah, so it's a duet. It was good. It was a 4-star read for me.
Okay.
As well.
It takes place in high school and college.
No, it's they had just graduated from high school, so it's like the summer after their senior year before they go to college is the prologue. Then so the majority of the book is college. Okay. Like just the prologue is right before.
Okay.
You probably wouldn't like it, but other people might.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the whole point. You and I read the same thing, but we both have different tastes within that same genre. So
it's a great healing journey of like finding love in two very traumatized people trying to heal.
Right.
That positive note. That's like a really happy way to end.
I know. Let's get into my book now. That's completely nowhere near like that. Okay.
Yes.
So the next book that I read is called Burning for More by Kaye Kennedy. I think this was another one that I got as a freebie on Christmas because they, Kindle offers a lot of free books on big holidays. So
yes, the next holiday that there's a big one, we're going to do a video on how to go in and find those free books.
Yeah.
So your Kindle can also have a lot of books on it, like ours.
They just sit there and you're like, well, the thing with the free books that I love, obviously this is a side note, this is a total rabbit chasing situation, but they're free. I felt so guilty. I downloaded, what did I say? I got 22 on Christmas and I was feeling guilty like I was buying all these books, but I'm like, they're free, but you still
Someone
feel like
has a problem.
Okay, so here's the deal. They're free. If I don't like it, it doesn't hurt, right? Like it's not a big deal. So they sit on the Kindle. It's not a big deal. They were free, Mandy. I really like free.
I know. I'm going to challenge you one of these days to read everything on your TBR or on your Kindle before you get anything else on it.
Oh, I think even like with my audio, I have a lot of audios on there that audiobooks that I need to get through. And there's every once in a while, I'm like, I'm going to do it this month. And then I'm like, oh, look, new book. So never mind. Okay, so the next book I read was Burning for More by Kaye Kennedy. So this is a firefighter romance. This is about Dylan and Autumn. And in the opening scene, there's a fire. We can tell that Autumn has been through something because she talks about feeling like she's drowning and not being able to breathe. And then she wakes up and realizes that was her past. This is her future, or that was her past. So she has gone through a traumatic event in her life, a medical event that severely impacted her body and her self-image. She's got a huge scar on her side that she doesn't want anybody to see. And she keeps that under wraps for quite a bit of the book, what actually happened. We know about the scar in the very beginning and stuff. You can probably figure it out, but if you can't, it'll be a surprise. So she's babysitting the neighbor's kid. She wakes up from having this dream and the fire alarm is going off in their building. She can't breathe. So she goes to the stairwell to try and get like some air, fresh air. And when she does, it closes behind her. She can't get back in to go get the little boy. And at the same time, the firefighters are coming up. And so we see her out waiting to, she's getting medical care and she's freaking out because they haven't found this little boy yet. The captain messages this guy and says, hey, there's a little boy in there. Dylan is the guy's name. His brother is actually the captain. So there's actually 4 brothers. I think it's a series. Each brother has a book, but he goes, and
Right,
finds
so
little
this
boy.
is a series about four firefighters that are brothers.
Yeah.
Awesome.
In New York. They're all New York firefighters. Brooklyn, I believe. But anyhow, so yeah, so they meet that he finds little boy and he finds her kitten. So he's her hero, obviously, all of a sudden. But they have this instant chemistry. He has also gone through some things in the past. He lost his girlfriend in a tragic incident when they were teenagers. And so he's dealing with that still. And because of that, he takes risks that he shouldn't take. And so this is their story. You know, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I love me a good firefighter romance. So this one was really cute. I enjoyed it. There was a little bit of angst, but not much. So works. So what do you got?
So I finally, and I'm kicking myself for it taking this long, started reading Cora Reilly.
I love you so much.
So I read, this is the Born in Blood Mafia series that I started with. I actually went to her website and I'm following her reading order because she has like multiple series, some standalones. So if you choose to go down this rabbit hole, I would recommend going to her website and following her reading order. Just if you want to.
I would too. I mean, I'm desperate for you to read the Kimura Chronicles, which is the spin-off of this. But and I loved Born in Blood, but when I got to Mafia, the Kimura Chronicles, especially the second one of the Kimura Chronicles, I was like, oh my gosh. But you have to, in order to really enjoy and understand what happens throughout the series, you really have to start at the beginning. I mean, you really do.
Yeah. So I read Bound by Honor, which is the very first book. And I also read Luca, which is his perspective. And Cora Reilly even tells you that there's a few new scenes in this book, but most of it is just the same book from his perspective. So I read them together. Like literally, I pulled up Luca on my computer in my Kindle app, and then I read Bound by Honor on my Kindle and went back and forth. There are definitely scenes in Luca that help us understand the story better. So I highly recommend reading them in tandem. This is about Arya and Luca. And when Arya is 15, she learns that she is going to marry Luca. Luca is 5 years older than her, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's older. It's not that much older, but I think it's like
he's older. He's like an adult, but he also, neither one of them are happy about this. Gianna's like, I'm 15. And he's like, she's 15, but their dads are like,
you do have to say, like, they're promised to each other if the arrangement is made at 15, but they don't get married until after she turns 18.
I'm getting to that.
Sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay, keep going.
That's how it starts, though. I'm just trying to paint the picture that the two of them are not okay with this.
Right.
Like, Luca knows he's going to have to get married because he wants to become the head. And so he knows he has to get married, but he does not want to marry a 15-year-old. So I'm just trying to paint this picture that their dads are okay with this. Someone else steps in and is like, no, let Arya finish high school. So when Arya, then we fast forward in the book, it like jumps into them getting married. So Arya is now 18 and Luca is still not, neither one of them like this, but they just know this is what's going to happen. I loved Luca. I know he comes off, if you just read Bound by Honor, Luca comes off kind of a little standoffish, a little jerkish, a little arrogant, but Arya kind of breaks him a little bit. He thinks he's going to break Arya, but I think Arya kind of breaks him. And when you read Luca with this, you see scenes that are happening and things that he does in the book that you're like, why would he do that? Why is he acting like this? He's acting like this for certain things that are happening in his life that Arya doesn't know about. And it's so good. And then he does like a really, really messed up thing. And when you read Luca, he's like, I just thought that this is what she wanted. Like, this is what most wives want. And so he doesn't realize that his actions are actually like really hurting her. because he just thought, well, this is what everybody else wants, so why wouldn't
yeah,
you?
but everybody else within the Mafia. It's not what every
Yes.
wife in general wants.
No, in the Mafia, the other Mafia wives. So in his world, he's a very brutal man, but he refuses to mistreat women or be brutal to them, even though most of the men around him are horrible to women. And we see a little bit of that in the series. But I just love the fact that he is this brutal man, but yet not like that with Arya. And this is just their love story. It doesn't start off like a love story because it's an arranged marriage. Neither one of them are happy about it, but this is definitely their love story. And I was like obsessed with the series after this. I just loved it. Cora Reilly sucks you into this weird world, this Mafia world that I have not really read a lot of Mafia. So some of the stuff that's happening is very different, but I've watched some TV shows, so I can make connections to like what she's talking about. It's like not totally like foreign to me. But I absolutely loved both of these books. They are 5-star reads for me. And I highly recommend that if you want to try this series out, you read the both of them together, because it just gives like just such a better perspective for why Luca is doing some of the stuff, and just confirmed my feelings about Luca, that he really does care about Arya.
So I haven't read Luca's book yet. Again, I have it. I just haven't read it. And I, read these. It's 3 years ago, because these were some of the first books I started reading in 2020, which is crazy to me that it's 3 years ago. But I need to go back and read Luca's. I still love Luca without even knowing his side. So
yeah, I discovered the Luca book about halfway through, and so I went and kind of caught up and then read them in tandem the rest of the way. So I already had my feelings for Luca, and this just cemented it.
Yeah, well, apparently we like a good alpha hole, because
if you do not like brutal things happening in your books, I would not recommend going into Cora Reilly's Mafia world, because Mafia is brutal.
Mafia is brutal, but if you're like me and you've read a lot of dark, it's not so bad. So
yeah, just totally preference.
Yep, to each his own for that one. So then I read a book that Mandy. Well, I've known of this book. It's a duet, but I hadn't read it. I'd had it forever, just waiting to read, just ready to get into it, but I hadn't done it yet, because the TBR is so long. But Mandy, you've read this, and you were telling me to read it. So yes. She read the Cora Reilly, and I read Parallel. So it's Parallel, and the second book is Intersect by Ellen. It's Elle O'Rourke. I always want to say it's Ellen, but it's Elle O'Rourke. So this one is about a girl named Quinn. And she's always dreamed about this guy, Nick, and not just like dreamed about him. Like, she would wake up and tell her parents, my husband, Nick. And like, she refers to him as her husband. She dreams of a whole nother life with him where he is her husband. She's engaged to get married to another guy. And
it's important to note that she was doing this like when she was 4.
Oh yeah. As a little girl, like she's always talked about him and freaked her parents out. I love this. This was really good. I know. So we fast forward to where she's getting married. She's getting ready to get married to this guy, and they're checking out in the beginning. They're checking out the venue for the reception, and she sees a house, and then she faints. Right? She gets taken to the hospital, where she eventually meets a neurologist. Nick is the neurologist, and he recognizes her too, not to the extent that she recognizes him, but he recognizes her as well. He has some memories of her. And so this was just really interesting, because the whole time I'm like, wait a minute. Like, it's not, first I was like, is this reincarnation? Is this what, it was very interesting. It's such a good book. She wants the dreams to stop. And so Nick tries to give her medicines to make the dreams stop, because there's like this instant attraction. Like, they instantly belong together, like the instant connection and belonging with them, like they're long lost loves kind of a situation. But she wants the dreams to stop. She's supposed to get married. She's supposed to be loving this other guy. And so he even gives her like medicine to stop the dreams, and nope, it doesn't work. I really can't say much about the second book. I don't want to go too far into it because it'll ruin everything. But I do have to say what I didn't realize, and we talked about this a tiny bit. I left you a couple Marco Polos and stuff. Um, in this book, and this isn't a spoiler, but in this book, there is a little girl who has a brain tumor, and she's in the hospital because he's a neurologist. So he's a doctor. He's not a neurosurgeon, but he's a neurologist. And it was hard because she's like, do you remember how old she was? She was under the age of 10. I can't remember how old she was.
She was like 7 or 8, I think.
Yeah. Where my son had a brain tumor when he was diagnosed at 10. It was removed at the age of 11. His was completely benign, but it's still, I didn't realize like I might have a little PTSD from that still, from that whole situation. So that was a little hard. It all worked. It's all good. There's an HEA at the end of the second one. Everything's great now. It's just that there was a couple of times I had to like I was listening to the audio as well as reading along, but I was listening to the audio at work so I could continue to listen to or read the book. And I would have to like I'd take my headphones off and just be like, I need a breather. I need a minute. Because that was hard for me. I don't think that'd be hard for everybody. That was just hard for me after what we dealt with. But I gave both these books 5 stars. They are definitely a favorite read so far this year.
I agree. So this will be shocking, Jessica. My second book was Bound by Duty. Which I know, which is book number 2 in the Cora Reilly series. This was a 4 for me. This is about Valentina or Val and Dante. Mm-hmm. And I've read where people say like Dante is their favorite character from this series.
I don't get it. No,
I don't either. Okay. I know they have another book later on, so I'm like, maybe that's when I'll feel different about him.
Can I say about the other book later on? I got through like 80% of it and I was like, I am so bored. Dante and Val are just not my favorite. But to each his own, like some people love Dante and Val. I don't really love being in Chicago. Chicago's not my favorite because that's where this takes place, is in the Chicago outfit. And Luca is in New York. And eventually you go out to Vegas. Chicago's not my favorite. No. But anyhow, sorry, keep going.
Okay. So Dante's wife died 4 years ago, but he is forced to remarry because he is the head of the Chicago outfit. And in the Mafia world, they have to have a wife or they look weak. So he needs a wife. And so it is arranged that he's going to marry Valentina or Val. And her husband just died 9 months ago. And she's a little upset that she's having to remarry already. She doesn't really want to marry Dante. But her first marriage was a friendship marriage. It was a loveless friendship marriage, if that makes sense. I don't want to say anything more about that. You learn more about that as the book goes on. She feels like she tries really hard to get his attention and he basically ignores her because he truly loved his first wife. And when she died, he was devastated. And if it was up to him, he would not be getting married again. So he's content just to ignore her and let her do her thing. He is good to her, but he doesn't do anything really. Like, he ignores her. He lets her work at the club, which the Mafia women are not, like, the wives are not allowed to work. So she's
it's a casino, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's like
there's other things that happen, but
happening there.
Yeah.
So she gets to work there. And then she just really spends like too much of the book, in my opinion, feeling conflicted because she's trying to get Dante to interact with her and be in a marriage, but yet her cousin is in, or is it her cousin or her friend? I can't remember. There's a lot of,
I think they're cousins. A lot of them are related because I think Ari is related to her as well. Because Ari is originally
cousins. That's why I was thinking are the other two cousins. But anyways, she has a friend who's married to like a guy who's like 30 years older than her, and he's horrific, beats her and all sorts of stuff. And so she feels like, well, Dante's good to me, he doesn't beat me, but I wish he would like pay attention to me or like talk to me. And so she feels conflicted that she should just be happy she's not being like beat and that he just lets her be. And that's just, she's a very strong heroine in the book, but she doesn't really the story didn't do much for me because it just him ignoring her and her like feeling conflicted from trying to get his attention to being like, well, at least he's not beating me.
Yeah.
But then right around the 70% mark, the book got so good. I loved it from that point forward. A lot of stuff happens, things come out. Their relationship starts to change. Like, it is so good. It happens all very quickly, but it doesn't happen until that 70% mark. So if you read this book, which I really encourage you to read it, start off just knowing that it might get a little slow. Don't DNF, keep pushing through, skim if you have to, but it really gets good. And it was a 4-star review for me. It could have been a 5 if that first part would have been a little bit faster for me. But like I said, a lot of people love this couple. They love Dante. So you might feel differently. So give it a try.
Yeah. Did you solely read it or did you listen to the audio?
I read it.
You might have enjoyed it a little bit more if you listened to the audio, because then you can listen to it fast like I do and get past that stuff. But yeah.
Okay, what's your next read?
Love the Mafia world. Okay, so this one I'm only talk a second about because we covered it in our favorite series. But I did a reread of Broken by Imogen Keeper. So this is a post-apocalyptic series. There's, I think right now, 5 books out in the series. This is the first one. This is about Frankie and York. So in the first book, not a lot happens. Frankie and York don't even meet until the second book. The first book is still very good. It's still a 5-star book for me. These books are very short. I can listen to the audio in like an hour and a half. So they are very short. There's a new one coming out here really soon. She's teasing it right now. So that's why I did a reread of it. So at this point in the book, we start out what they call the Aussie flu has decimated the population. Only 1% of the population is still alive or living. I mean, everybody's kind of dying at this point. They're all starting to die. She and her husband, Jimmy, are, madly in love. They live in the DC area and they're not sick yet. And they're trying to figure out, do they leave town? Do they not? What happens? In the meantime, York is an Army Ranger and he's being sent home because everybody's dying. So why wouldn't you send him home? And he's trying to find his brother. They grew up in that same area. His brother's into drugs. He's trying to find his brother. So this is kind of their story of, we see this is like their backstory before they meet. It's very interesting the way she did it. And when I realized that they don't even meet until the second book, I was like, no. But when I read it, I totally captivated. You have found family. He does see her at one point in time, but this one is definitely heartbreaking. This one, it completely crushes you, but then it'll build you back up a little bit. So yeah, it's like my 3rd reread of this series. So definitely enjoyed it. Like I said, it's a 5-star for me. So I reread that. What do you got?
Another shocking book. I read Bound by Hatred, number 3.
No.
This is Gianna and Matteo.
Mm-hmm. It's
dual point of view, which I really liked. So I think I forgot to say that Bound by Duty was just Val's point of view. So Gianna and Matteo is dual point of view. It is another story of an arranged marriage. So Matteo is Luca's brother and Gianna is Aria's sister. And Matteo met Gianna when Luca is marrying Aria. And she is your redhead, sassy Spitfire, and he falls for her.
Yep.
And he wants to marry her, but so he goes to Luca and he's like, I want to marry Gianna. And Luca's like, no, you don't, because Luca can't stand her. And he's like, I do. So Luca goes and they kind of twist the story to make it sound like Matteo wants nothing to do with her, and is irritated that she was disrespectful to him, and so he wants to basically marry her to make him miserable, because that's the type of father they have. So that's how this so that's how this arranged marriage comes into play. So basically this is the story of 2 people that are forced to marry each other. but kind of have feelings for each other, because Gianna does have some feelings for Matteo prior to this forced marriage. Gianna wants nothing to do with the mafia life. She does not want to be a wife, nothing. She wants nothing to do with it. So this is just the story of two people, one who is arrogant and stubborn, and another one who is very sassy and stubborn. And this is their love story that takes a while to get to the love story because they're stubborn. I will this is not a spoiler because you actually know this is going to happen if you're reading the series. Gianna decides to run. And so she runs. She's ultimately found, which is part of the book, which obviously we know is going to happen. But what frustrated me with her, so this was a 4-star read for me, and it was just because I got frustrated with Gianna, because she has these feelings for Matteo, but she is so adamant that she doesn't want to have feelings for him that she just refuses to deal with things. And I just got frustrated with her because she's like angry about stuff, but then she goes along with other things, but then she's like angry again. And it's like, just stop, like figure out how you feel. So I just got frustrated with her as she battled her feelings for Matteo and being a mob wife, because she just really didn't want to be a part of the mafia. And so I got a little frustrated with her. Eventually I stopped being frustrated with her, but there was just some times where she got on my nerves. I sided with Luca a little bit on that one.
Yeah, I think I did too. Gianna was so, it got old. I mean, I love the books. I love the whole series, but it just kind of got old, the back and forth. I'm like, would you just admit to your feelings already? And just,
yeah.
Because I'm telling you what, if my dad had come to me and said, you have to marry Matteo, I'd be like, hey, let's go. So, well,
that's I think it had really less to do with Matteo and more that she just did not want to be a part of this life.
And she didn't want to be involved in all of that. So yeah, I agree. So the next 2 books that I read, I'm gonna talk about them both together because they're in a series, so we'll just do that. But so then I read 2 books that are a part of an MC series by Serena Akeroyd. The first one, Nyx, I've already read before. So Serena Akeroyd has the Filthy Fecker series, not CD, series that is it's 5 Points Mafia. It's a great series. Love it. In one of her books, before you start one of them, it tells you, hey, you need to like go and read the MC series that I have, because they kind of interchanged. You know, there's this reading order. I didn't do that. I just kept on reading. If you're going to read these, you have to do that, because one of the heroines in one, I keep going like this because they're behind me down here. One of the heroines in the Filthy Feckers is the sweet butt in Nyx. And the way he treats her, like, immediately turns you off from the book. And so when I originally read this book, for some odd reason, I gave it 4 stars. I have dropped it down to 2.
Wait, did you call her Sweet Butt? Is that her name?
No, it's her standing in the club. I don't want to use she's one of the hoes that be up in the club servicing the Sweet Butt.
Okay.
So that's not what he calls her. That he calls her all sorts of nasty names, but she's the sweetest thing ever. I'm sorry. She just really is. And we know that she's like absolutely in love with Nyx. So this is the thing. So we start out with Nyx. He's the enforcer in the MC, and all the guys in this MC are very young. And he's got Cammy, who is his, she's one of the girls that's there to service all the guys. This is the one that it becomes a heroine in one of the other books. And she is absolutely in love with Nyx. He won't let anybody touch her but him. Okay. So she's solely his. So she thinks eventually he's going to make her his old lady. No, he's a jerk. The way she's treated just drives me nuts. It just drives me. I can't handle it. But I think that's why she's like, you have to read this book before you read that one, because otherwise you're going to hate Nyx. And I did. So in the beginning of the book, Julia, who is our heroine, she's been living in Utah, or she's been living somewhere out of state with her twin brothers and their mom. Their dad is a part of the MC. Mom and dad have gotten a divorce. Mom took off and took the kids. So now the kids are grown, and mom has just recently passed away. And so they come back to be the boys want to be a part of the MC, so they come back because they can. They're family, right? They can come back. And so when they come back, Julia looks almost exactly like her mom. Apparently, and this kind of creeped me out a little bit. Apparently, Nick's had a thing when he was a teenager for Julia's mom. And so when he sees her, he's like, oh yeah, she looks like her mom. That is so gross. First of all, that's just gross. So this is their story. This is like,
wait. So I'm so confused. This is why I don't like motorcycle. I do read them, but I don't like the whole like girls that are there to like just, I don't know, all the sex that happens in these books. So you were talking about Nix and Cammy, but now you're talking about Julia.
Yeah, Cammy is not the heroine. Cammy is just the girl that he's sleeping with. She's just at the club to sleep with the guys. She's got no job. So they're there to service the guys, although he
keeps her to himself, but he's going to end up with this other.
Yes. Do you not see this is why I'm like, So when Julia comes,
why would you read this book?
I like MC. I like MC. But this one didn't do it for me, because what happens is, so Julia is her mom left because the dad had actually beat on her and he cheated on her and all that good stuff. And so all that bad stuff. And so the mom was jaded to start, right? And obviously. And so she kind of passed that on to her daughter. And so when Julia walks into the club, she hates everything about it, but she's here. They're feeding her and clothing her and letting her live there, but she hates everything about it. She has nothing polite to say. She's cruel to the girls who are there to service the guys, which I understand. I get it, but you've never had a conversation with these girls. Like right off the bat, she just starts picking fights with these girls, and I'm like, what? None of these guys are yours, so why are you picking a fight with them? What is your problem? I had such a hard time with this. I cannot even tell you what the book was actually about, because nothing happened in this book. Okay, so I dropped it down to 2. I was just so annoyed. So annoyed. I'm like, why did I give this 4 stars? What the heck was wrong with me? And then granted, I read it over 2 years ago, but I'm like, what was wrong with me?
So a 2-star read. Interesting.
I probably should have given it 1, but I'm very nice. So then, because I was a glutton for punishment, I picked up the second book.
Oh gosh.
In that series, which was way better. I actually gave this one 3.5 stars. This one is about Link. Link is like the pretty boy in the MC. He's blonde, and you know how I feel about blonde. I need dark and pretty, but he's blonde, but he's actually very pretty on the cover. And this is about the sister to the villain in the first book, which we saw the villain for all of 3 seconds, so whatever. So the sister's name is Lily, and the blonde hottie's name is Link. I already said that. His name is Link. So good gravy. I'm all worked up over here. So Lily's been living. Her dad's very wealthy, and her brother was the bad guy. But they're like those spoiled, rotten brats. And the dad and brother have abused her whole life. And the fact that her brother is no longer in the picture, there's still something like she wants her dad dead. She would love to see her dad dead because he's hurt her whole life. So she goes to Link and says, I have information, and that'll help you guys out because of what happened in the first book. And so they start communicating. He's tries to help her out. There's not a lot that happens in this one either. There is no full on they don't have sex. They do other things, but she's had a lot of trauma, and that's why there's no sex in this book. There's other stuff, but there's no sex. So apparently it happens in the next book. I don't know that I'm going to continue on with this series. Just putting that out there. I was so bored. But yeah, so she's like high society and he's an MC playboy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what happened. So what you got? What was your next read?
Those are all my reads.
Okay.
For the week. Do you have more reads?
I have 2 more reads.
Okay.
So let's talk about those. So
yes, and then I have something I want to show you. And
yes, and then I want to see. Let me do these two really quick. So the next one I read, and you read this one before, was Make You Mine by Laura Pavlov. We're going to meet Laura at a book signing event in Seattle in the spring, and I wanted to read hers. And this one is supposed to be an age gap, and it's an age gap small town firefighter romance because he's a firefighter. So this is about Jace. He's 32. He's a firefighter with a side business of fixing houses. His captain has a bunch of daughters, and I think the daughters are all throughout these books. I haven't read, so this is like is this the third or the fourth in the series? I can't remember, but I need to go back and read the other ones. But he hires her to help take care of his little girls. He has a 3-year-old who's barely talking, and he has a one that's going into kindergarten. So she's 4 or 5, depending on when her birthday is. It never really says how old she is, but he hires her to be his live-in nanny. She lives in like a little mother-in-law's cottage on the property. And the kids, they were so cute. They were just so adorable in this book. So the girl's name is Ashlyn, that's hired to take care of his kids. His wife has taken off like 1.5 years or 2 years earlier. She was never a good wife, never a good mother. She, had substance abuse issues and alcohol abuse issues, and she just kind of took off at one point in time. So the first half of this book, we really see them coming together as friends and taking care of these kids. It's really fun. The little girls are adorable. And then, Ash is an aspiring romance author, so we get to see a little bit of that, which is kind of fun. We get into the fact, and it's mentioned over and over and over and over again, this age gap. Okay? Ashlyn is 22. She turns 23. There is a 9-year age gap. That is not an age gap. That was like my biggest thing. I still give it 4 stars. I still want to read the other ones. I loved it because I love the nanny aspect and the kids and the firefighting and, which they're supposed to be in a little tiny town. They have a lot of dang fires in this little tiny town, let me tell you. But they did. They all were always having a fire. But the fact that it was funny, it was a cute read. It was what I would refer to as a palate cleanser in between all my dark stuff. But the third act conflict revolves around the age gap. It's only 9 years. I'm sorry. We've said this before. My husband's 14 years older than me. Your husband's 12?
Yes.
9 years is not a big deal. So if you're going to write an age gap romance, would you just write the age gap big enough to make a difference, big enough to actually be an issue is my thing. But go read the book. It was still a great book. It just drove me insane because I live with it. For somebody else, a 9-year age gap is probably a big deal. But for us, no, not at all.
I could get behind the age gap a little bit more in this story than I have been able into other stories, because in this story, she's just coming home from college. She's the youngest sister, so she's like the baby of the family.
Yeah.
So that I kind of understood. It's also his boss, his captain's daughter. So the age gap, I kind of understood it a little bit. I do agree with you on the third act conflict. With that, but it wasn't as bad. It's not. I read a book where the lady was 32 and he was like 42 or something.
Yeah.
And they treated her like she was. I actually thought in my review I wrote, if she would have been fresh out of college, I could have understood how like her uncle needed to come help her set up her apartment and her uncle needed to do this for her and this. She's 32. Like when I was 32, I had been married for several years, had 3 kids, successful job. Like it just was weird to me that they pampered her. So when she was 22 and right out of college, I could understand it a lot better.
Yeah, I
loved that series.
Well, because she turned 23 while in the thing, and that was my thing though. I met my husband right after I turned 24, and so for me, I was like, no, I don't understand this. I'd been living alone in Alaska for years at that point in time, and so that's why I think I had some time. But I could see it. I have 3 kids. My baby is my baby. Like I can see that. But yeah. But it's still a really good book. That
great series. I actually need to go back and read the last one. It just came out in December.
Yeah, there's more coming out. I was seeing on audio. There's more coming out within the next couple months. So and then the last book that I read for this week was The Pawn and the Puppet by Brandi. Szeker is how you say her last name. It's a very hard
is on my TBR.
I know. I bought this when it first came out. I actually have the second book as well, but I haven't read it yet because it's supposed to be a 5-book series, and only 3 of the books are out. The third book just came out in December.
Oh,
I know, it's killing me. She's getting them out
I
pretty
thought
fast.
it was only 3 books.
5. I went back and watched a video of hers. 5.
That's...
But so this is billed as a not post-apocalyptic. No, it's not post-apocalyptic. I think she's
okay.
No, it's dystopian.
Question. All 5 books, are they going to follow the same people?
Yes.
Dang it.
It's the same couple. Okay. So this is a dystopian romance.
Ooh, that's a gutsy write. 5 books on the same couple.
I know, but
you don't see that very often.
You don't. But from what I can tell, it's 5 books on the same couple. Same story, same couple.
Tell us about it. So, I'm sorry. I'm
dying. No, I don't want to. I know you're so ready. I don't want to give too much away about the book, but so this is a dystopian romance. It's set in this very odd world where women have like these crazy beauty regimens that they have to keep up with. They have to like take all these like milk baths at night, and their skin has to be porcelain white, so they can't be out in the sun. They have to walk around with parasols, or umbrellas, or whatever you want to call them. The women have these crazy beauty regimens, you know, and they have to like they tell them to only eat when you feel like you're about to faint. Like they have fainting couches all over the city, so that when they faint, they can just lay on a couch. It's crazy. So our heroine, and I do have to say that Brandi was very unique in coming up with names for these things, because they threw me off the whole time. Everybody has very odd names in this book. The audio just came out for this book, which I listened to last night. There's not audio for the other ones, or yesterday I listened to. But just because the names were throwing me off. But this one is about Skylena, who is your heroine. And she did not grow up in the city where they have all these crazy beauty regimens. She grew up outside of the city with her dad. So her sister has just recently passed away. Her sister worked at this they call it an asylum. It was an asylum. And so at this asylum, they do horrific things to the patients. The patients never leave unless they're leaving in a body bag, kind of a situation. It's horrific what they do. And so she gets a job at the asylum. Her sister had this, like, she wanted to change things. She wanted to break it from the inside out, but she got broken instead because the patients are just, they have a lot of issues, and it broke her instead of her breaking the system. And so she wants to continue on with her sister's legacy. So she gets a job at the asylum. And in the beginning, I mean, like, guys, triggers are insane. There is a list when you start this book. Heed them, because this is dark. So she goes into work at the asylum, and in the beginning, like, she sees some of the horrific treatments and the horrific ways that they are trying to break these patients. Eventually she gets a patient that hasn't spoken in years to actually speak to her by using a different method, because she doesn't want to be mean to these guys. She wants to be nice. She wants to be good to them. And she's been told never to go to patient. There's 13 rooms. Patient 13 is off limits. He's broken a girl's neck before. He's twisted other people's minds. He is like the ultimate bad, and she's not allowed to go in this room. But when she gets this guy to talk to her just by being friendly, she gets called into like this guy's office who runs the place, and he's like, we're going to try your method. I'm going to let you do it. I know about your sister. I know what her ideas were. We're going to let you do it. And you're going to get to work with patient 13. So patient 13, his name is Dessen, and he has DID. So he has multiple personalities. And for layman's term, multiple personalities. Hopefully I'm politically correct enough here, but he has, I can't remember what the DID stands for. Dissociative identity disorder. That's what it is. So she is given free reign to go in and work with him. She's been told all along that he would break her mind. But she's given free reign to go work with him. So she goes to work with him to try to bring out the original personality. That's the end goal. Something happens, and after she starts working with him, and he's given 90 days. They don't think that she can do it, and they don't think it can be, quote unquote, cured. And so they they're going to execute him in 90 days if she doesn't pull forward that original personality. And so that's where we start all of this off with, is with her trying to get to know him trying to get to know her. He knows things about her. Like, he knows her whole life. He knows everything about her. And you're sitting here going, how? How is this a thing? It does end on a cliffhanger. Not a horrible cliffhanger, but a cliffhanger. And I finished it around 10:30 last night, and I'm very mad at my boss for making me work today. I'm my own boss, but I'm very mad at my boss because I can't start reading the second one until tomorrow. So that's what I read.
All right.
Okay.
So I want to show you something I picked up at Barnes & Noble. I'm very excited about it.
Right. Okay.
Have you seen this?
No.
It is the ultimate reading challenge. And so it comes with 25 rewards. I know, I'm so excited about this. So it includes bookmarks, note cards, book plates, coasters, and more. So you complete a goal and then you open an envelope and reveal your bookish prize.
Yeah!
So I saw this and I'm like, I have to get this. So I'll show kind of what it looks like inside.
Okay.
So you can kind of see there's
all the
envelopes and everything. Some of these, I mean, are super fun. Like, read in a place you've never read before. That sounds like a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Read a book you selected based purely on its cover design. But then there's some stuff like reread a book you read as a child, like different stuff like that. Read a book in a genre you've never read before, read a book published this year, participate in a book club. So there's all sorts of like fun reading challenges.
So are the things that are in the envelopes, do you put them in the envelopes, or are they already in there?
They're already there. So
I gotta go to Barnes & Noble. Nope, Noble. Gotta go to Barnes & Noble.
So you just pick a challenge and you do it, and then you open the envelope and get a prize.
Okay, I'm down. I'll get it. We'll do it together.
Okay.
Yes.
So you go get it and then we can do it. I thought maybe we could do it on our Bestie book teas. We could open, like, say what our new challenge is going to be. And then like the next week or whenever we complete it, come back and say, hey,
send me a picture of that. So when I go, I'm going to try and go before I have to go to the office.
Okay.
So that's it for sure. But yes, let's do that.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
okay. So thank you guys for watching our Bestie book tea with us this week. We hope you got some great recommendations. Let us know which of these books caught your interest down in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well.
And make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. We're going to start 3 videos a week now. So check back those 3 days and comment. Tell us, what are you reading right now?
We will see you guys all in the next video. So Mandy, what do you got to tell them?
Go read.
Go read. Bye.